This is the Composer Corner. Composer Corner.
Hello, I'm Emily, and welcome to Composer's Corner. On today's episode, we are going to head to Broadway for a night at the theatre to meet the amazing Leonard Bernstein. Bernstein was born near the end of the First World War on the 25th of August 1918 in Lawrence, Massachusetts. He was American but had Russian and Jewish heritage. Bernstein was named Louis at birth, but he was known by the nickname Lenny. So, Bernstein officially changed his name to Leonard as a teenager. Lenny had his first taste of music when he was 10 years old because his auntie gave him her piano. But Lenny's father wouldn't pay for him to have lessons. So determined little Lenny decided to raise money to pay for a few piano lessons himself. Clever Bernstein went on to study music at Harvard University. Lenny became an overnight sensation when he was asked to conduct the New York Philharmonic Orchestra with under a day's notice to replace the conductor Bruno Walter, who had fallen ill. This performance was heard on the radio across America, and the next day Bernstein was all over the news and became a huge celebrity, just like pop stars Billie Eilish or Justin Bieber today. Bernstein is best known for his 1957 musical West Side Story. He also clearly liked cities, especially New York, and wrote 4 other musicals: On the Town, Wonderful Town, Candide, and 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, which was a bit of a flop.
Hang on a minute, I haven't just composed musicals.
Oh, hello, Lenny. Yes, sorry, of course. But West Side Story is your biggest success.
But not my first. I wrote the ballet for Fancy Free in 1944, which was really popular. To be fair, I did use this as the basis for the plot of On the Town, but I did compose a new score for it. That's not all. I have also written 3 symphonies, piano music, Chichester Psalms, Dance Suite for brass quintet, and 2 operas, to name but a few.
Wow, you have been a busy man.
I even wrote the lyrics for my opera Trouble in Tahiti.
Anyway, back to Broadway and your musical West Side Story. West Side Story is based on Shakespeare's tragic love story Romeo and Juliet. Set in New York, West Side Story is about 2 rival teenage gangs, the Jets, the Americans, and the Sharks, the Puerto Ricans, with Tony, a Jet, falling in love with Maria, who is Puerto Rican. It was then turned into a multi-award-winning film in 1961.
Do you want to know a fun fact?
Go on then, tell us.
Originally, West Side Story was about a Catholic boy falling in love with a Jewish girl, and I called it East Side Story, but then I decided against it to make it more modern.
That's really interesting. I mean, West Side Story was seen as a new age for theatre.
Another fact for you. The actors playing the Jets and Sharks weren't allowed to socialise together during the rehearsal period. They couldn't even eat lunch together. This is choreographer Jerome Robbins' idea, as he wanted the rivalry to be real. Then one day the Jets made a big shark out of cardboard and filled it with newspaper. They then threw the shark over the stage so it landed at the feet of the group of actors who were playing the Sharks when they came back from lunch. The Jets then shouted, "Sharks have had it!" It was great. Their homework had clearly paid off.
Gosh, that is an intense rehearsal period. You also swapped some songs around, didn't you? Wasn't the love duet One Hand, One Heart originally meant for your musical Candide before West Side Story?
Yes, it was. Instead, I'd written the duet Oh Happy We for West Side Story, but I moved that to the first act of Candide. It just worked better that way.
You do like to leave things to the last minute, don't you, Lenny? I don't know how you managed to write Tony's song, Something's Coming, just 12 days before West Side Story's premiere.
Well, I always say that to achieve great things, two things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time.
That's an understatement indeed.
You haven't even talked about my time on TV yet.
Oh yes, that is a good point. You became the first musician to talk about classical music on TV, presenting 53 episodes.
That's right. From 1954 to 1990 on the shows Omnibus and Young People's Concerts. Some even said I'd mastered the TV audience.
Before you leave, Lenny, do you have any words of wisdom you want to share about being a composer?
That's a hard one. Oh, go on then. I'm not interested in having an orchestra sound like itself. I want it to sound like the composer. Also, inspiration is wonderful when it happens, but the writer must develop an approach for the rest of the time. The wait is simply too long. Now, on that note, I must go. I have an orchestra to conduct and music to write. Although I could go and relax by watching the film On the Waterfront, I even composed the music for that.
I know, Lenny. You have done a lot in your career. Goodbye. After the success of West Side Story, Bernstein focused on his conducting. Lenny was also known as an educator and pianist, although he never actually performed a piano recital during his career. Sadly, Bernstein died from breathing difficulties on the 14th of October 1990, aged 72. But the popularity of West Side Story still lives on in the heart of theatre lovers today.
This is the Composer Corner. Composer Corner.